What's up, everybody, and welcome to the debut of Right Through the Table. I'm Aaron King, and this is my first time actually going on a live stream on YouTube, so see how this goes. Today, well, tonight actually. Before we get started tonight, I just want to say, um, I know he was a very, very big part of y'all's childhoods. I just want to say rest in peace to Jason David Frank, Green Ranger, absolute legend. Legend, who as a kid didn't love Power Rangers, to be honest. Rest in peace, man. As you all, as we all know, last night Full Gear was a pay-per-view for the ages. I honestly think it was a rebirth of AEW. And yeah, yeah, full Full Gear happened at the Prudential Center in Newark, New Jersey. It was a it was a very rocking crowd. It was out out everyone was lively. It was jumping, and to be honest, well, I think it was my favorite AEW pay-per-view so far. Start at the top, up with 0 Hour or The Factory versus Rocky Romero, Best Friends, Orange Cassidy, and Danhausen. Not really a lot to talk about. I watched this in the movie theater, so I wasn't exactly paying attention because QT Marshall is a fucking snorefest. So, but in the end, I did like the part where Danhausen eventually came out, and then not normal Danhausen. You know how Danhausen is very nice, very evil. This was the evil Danhausen, very evil. And then and of course he obviously won the match for his team. And then they did the best friends hug with him holding the spike in the air. Up next, you had in the Eliminator semifinal, you had Ricky Starks versus Lance Archer. Archer. This was like the classic as an injured underdog babyface versus dominant monster heel type dynamic. And Ricky Starks, after maybe 10 or so minutes, Ricky Starks ended up hitting the Rochambeau after a spear, which makes him move on to the finals this Wednesday on Dynamite against Ethan Page. Up, up next is up next was Eddie Kingston versus Jun Akiyama. I can honestly tell you, I had no clue who Jun Akiyama was before he went to AEW. I can honestly say he has a new fan in me. Absolute firefight between these two men. Man, Eddie King, man, Eddie Kingston and Jun Akiyama absolutely tore one another apart. After a very physical and very vicious match, Eddie Kingston eventually came out for the better of it. Afterwards, he got on the microphone, basically telling the crowd that they were awesome, thanking the crowd, and telling people to go buy Full Gear. And then the actual pay-per-view began, which kicked off with a steel cage match between Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus. This was perhaps the greatest steel cage match in AEW history. Jungle Boy was split open very early on in the match by Luchasaurus. It was basically just basically same thing with the Starks and Archer match. Only Jungle Boy wasn't in. Jungle Boy was at 100. I'm sure he was at 100%. I'm not too sure, but he but he defeat but he won. Uh, Lance Archer, not Lance Archer, Luchasaurus ragdolled him around the cage for a good 5 minutes. 5 minutes. Jungle Boy was an absolute mess. Then Jungle Boy started rallying, started making a comeback. Then Christian Cage was able to sneak behind one of the referees, grab the cage key, and unlock it and allow himself and allow Luchasaurus and allow the door to be opened and allow Luchasaurus out. Keep in mind, this isn't like a tip. typical cage match. In AEW, you can only win by pin or submission inside the cage. Escape doesn't matter. Had that been, had escape did matter, then Luchasaurus would have won the match right there. But he didn't because it didn't matter. So the match went on. Then after some outside stuff up between the security cage and Luchasaurus. It's Christian Cage, not the steel cage. Christian Cage and Luchasaurus. Jungle Boy was able to rocket out of the cage, aging get his former buddy and then it looked like Jungle Boy was going to mount a comeback until Luchasaurus viciously catapulted him into the steel cage. Cage. And then Luchasaurus ended up getting a table and two chairs. And tossing them in the ring. After maybe like 5 to 10 more minutes or so of back and forth action, Jungle Boy was able to eventually get the upper hand on Luchasaurus. Is putting him in a sleeper hold, knocking him out just long enough for him to be able to put on the table. And then Jungle Boy not wanting to take the risk, hit Luchasaurus in the skull with a steel chair. Then, and perhaps one of the craziest things I've ever seen, Jungle Boy from the top of the steel cage, 26 feet in the air. Jungle Boy landed an elbow drop off the top of the cage, right through the table on Abel to Luchasaurus. Luchasaurus, not Luchasaurus. First, you can tell it's my first podcast. Jungle Boy wanted to put an exclamation point on this, so he put his former best friend on the snare trap, and after fighting it for a good maybe 10-15 seconds, Luchasaurus had no other option but to tap out. Jungle Boy victorious, and I really think that Jungle Boy can now begin to focus on titles. There's gonna be big things for him. Tony Khan sees a lot in him. You could tell by the press conference after. Next was the match I was personally looking forward to. I'm shocked we got it so damn early. Death Triangle versus the Elite. Now I want to talk about the Elite's entrance here. If you grew up in the olden days, well, I didn't. I grew up around the 2010s because I was born in 1999, October 4th, 1999. I'm 23. I'm 23 years old. But if you have any parents or grandparents that grew up in the olden days, you know the song "Carry On My Wayward Son" by Kansas. I absolutely love that song. On the Elite. I really hope the Elite keep it for their together entrances. The Elite keep it for their together entrances. Together, meaning Kenny and the Bucks, of course. We all knew that this would be perhaps the match of the night. And after that, it was for the time being, until later on. We'll get to that later. But the thing is, the Elite and the Lucha Bros and Pac, the Elite and Death Triangle, as we all knew they would, tore the freaking house down. There was Nick Jack. Obviously, there was Nick Jackson, of course, drinking something from a fan. I don't know what it was. It was probably Diet Coke, or probably Diet Coke. Yeah, it probably was Diet Coke. But what I what did shock me here was the end. A lot of shockers in this. A lot of shockers last night. What did shock me was the ending. I first thought that at first thought that the Elite were going to win the titles, it being, of course, their first tag match back. But no, I really love the storytelling here they did with Rey Fenix. Rey Fenix didn't want to cheat to win, but he understood that Pac was finally right, and he was in a sticky situation with that one-winged angel, and seeing how he had the hammer, Rey Fenix obviously had no choice but to bop Kenny on the head with it, and he'll roll through 1, 2, 3, Death Triangle retained. One hell of a match, which subsequently will be the first match in the best of 7 series. Series that we're gonna get. If there's any teams that deserve like a whole best of 7 series, it's these. Another thing about this whole best of 3, best of 5, best of 7 stuff, all this series stuff in professional wrestling. If you're gonna do that, then the competitors you pick for that series, you're gonna want to make sure that they don't get sick of seeing them after 2 matches. So not matches, matches, and those 6 are those kind of talents. Absolutely off. Match was absolutely off the page, amazing. Up next was Nyla. Next, for the TBS title, Nyla Rose versus Jade Cargill. Of course, you had Nyla, Vicky, and Marina coming out in the lowrider. Love that tribute to Eddie. It's Eddie who passed away 17 years ago last week. Rest in peace, Eddie. Professional wrestling wouldn't be what it is today without you, man. Hope you're looking down proud. Hope you're looking down proud of the progress that professional wrestling has made since your untimely death, bro. Um, you see the lowrider that Nyla, Vicky, and Marina came out in, and there's a very tribute, and then Jay with her Thundercats attire. And I put it on Twitter. I said that this was the deepest water that Jade Cargill had been in. Deep water meaning toughest test. And Nyla Rose, I knew it was going to be a tough test for Jade. Deepest water she had been in thus far. But you know what? Jade passed. 42-0. Solid match. There was one cool spot where they hit each other's finishers. There's Jade Cargill hit a beast bomb on Nyla Rose for a 2 count, and then Nyla hit Jay with Jaded for a 2 count. But then at the end, Jade Cargill was able to hit Jaded on Nyla Rose. 1, 2, 3, 42-0. Still TBS titles, right? The TBS championship is back in the hands of its rightful owner. Absolutely solid match. Was definitely the best. Definitely one of Jade's better matches. I can honestly say that she is improving each time she gets in that ring. Okay. Keep in mind, I'm probably going to be leaving some matches out because I honestly didn't feel like those matches were noteworthy. The Ring of Honor World Title match. Jericho obviously won, but there was some great This was a great match. Obviously, you say the dissension between Jericho and Sammy. I mean, not too. Not too bad. And you saw, and then you saw the fake makeup between the two. Jericho and Sammy shook hands. Then Jericho hit the G. Then Sammy hit the GTH, and then a shooting star, for only a 2 count. Mm, And then, but then, and perhaps one of the greatest things I've ever seen as a pro wrestling fan, and and Claudio had the giant swing on Guevara, and Jericho actually vaulted over Guevara to hit the Judas effect on Claudio, albeit it was in the ribs. But Jericho regrouped, he was able to hit Claudio with a Judas effect, this time on target. 1, 2, 3, title retained. Title retained, and the Ring of Jericho era continues. I just want to say right now, personally, I love what they're doing with the whole Chris Jericho destroying Ring of Honor stuff. It seems like someone that would just if anyone could pull off that kind of stuff, it's Chris Jericho. Because anyway, and regarding Chris Jericho, name someone else who can get an article of clothing over, a few everyday words over, over a catchphrase over, and a piece of paper and a clipboard over. And on top of that, the fans sing his song every time he comes out there. When it's all said and done, when Jericho hangs up the boots, I think most people will be looking at him as the greatest of all time, considering he can reinvent himself at the drop of a dime. But the thing is, with too many, a lot of people say that Jericho also has too many nicknames. That doesn't matter as long as every nickname is memorable and can at some point get over. He's been known as Le Champion, the Demo God, the Influencer, the Wizard, the Big One, the Ocho. I could go on and on. The best in the world at what he does. Y2J, the Ayatollah of rock and roll, the highlight of the night. Right, you name it. And now, there were some matches on the card that I just don't want to cover because I didn't think they were all that good. That being the TNT title match and the TNA 2.0 match. Obviously, we got a shocker for Joe being champion, and we knew Sting and Darby would win. So, not really much to say there. But we're going to my match of the night. Right? And that's the AEW Interim Women's World Title match between Toni Storm, Jamie Hayter. This match was amazing. Absolutely amazing. Awesome. Absolutely awesome. There was basically, you saw the friendship dynamic between the two. You saw the wear downs and on the other stuff. And then I honestly was shocked when Jamie Hayter kicked out of Storm Zero. My mouth was wide open. Like, I honestly thought Jamie Hayter wasn't gonna. I was shocked that Jamie Hayter. So I was shocked that Jamie Hayter was. I was shocked that Jamie Hayter actually kicked out of the damn maneuver. Let alone that the fact that she won the match. So I don't know. I love Jamie Hayter. I love Jamie Hayter. She's one of the. She's for I don't know how long she's been in the ring, but she's very, 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 very good. Like, and she held her own against Toni Storm and won. And won. So I don't know what the future holds. Gee, I don't know what the future holds. Maybe now, if she can hold the title until January, that's more than likely when she'll face Thunder Rosa on the unification thing. Because Thunder Rosa has said that January is what she's shooting for to come back. So, and then a lot of people think that if Jamie Hayter's still champion, a lot of people think that Rose is just going to walk right through her. I'm not too sure. Not too sure. Dude, first of all, I just want to get. I just want to get. I just want to make. I just want to get. By the way, I'm not covering any of these in order. By the way, I'm not. I'm not sure if y'all heard it. That crowd was 85% of those. 85% of that crowd was behind Jamie Hayter. Yeah, yeah. And then when Jamie hit Haterade and that count of three, Prudential Center went nuts. Jamie Hayter is super over with the crowd right now. She's one of right now. She's perhaps one of the better wrestlers on their roster. And see, now that she's the interim women's world champion, I think, yeah, I think that maybe she could. I think that she's got a very big future ahead of her, and it won't be her. It's her first title, but it won't be her last. I can guarantee you that. Next, I'm gonna cover Britt Baker and Saraya. A lot to unpack in this match. All I can say, for a 5-year layoff, Saraya looked damn good in that ring. Uh, and I think Tony Khan made the absolute right calls putting her with Britt for her first match back. Because I can honestly say that Britt's one of the safest workers there is. Britt's one of the safest workers there is in AEW, not just on the women's roster, but in all of AEW. I mean, so Tony Khan made a very smart decision putting her with Britt. There was a lot of back and forth in this and a lot of match, and then you see her brother, Saraya's brother Zach, was at ringside. See, you saw Britt taunt her while beating up Saraya and mere feet away from him. You saw Britt tauntingly wave at him like "Hi, brother," stuff. So, and then so and then after some back and forth actions, and Saraya counters a lockjaw. There's a lockjaw into a pinning predicament, and after some back and forth there, after that too, Saraya is able to hit the Rampage, or as I call it now, Nightfall. Nightfall, and then Saraya hits it again, and 1, 2, 3. Saraya wins her first match back in 5 years. Years, very, very solid man. Very, very solid match. Saraya hasn't missed a step. I'm excited to see what she can. I'm excited to see what her future holds. TNT title match: Wardlow, Samoa Joe, and Powerhouse Hobbs. As we all knew, it would be a three. As we honestly knew, it would be a three-way, as Jim Ross would put it, hoss fight. But and then once Wardlow started firing off those power bombs on Powerhouse Hobbs, I thought for sure it would be another Wardlow retention. And then once Wardlow went for, I think it was powerbomb number 5, Joe able to take advantage. What's up, Christy? Joe was able to take advantage with a TNT title shot to the back of the neck. And seeing that Hobbs was practically already out, Hobbs was already out, and Joe was out from the TNT title shot. Not Joe. Wardlow was out from the TNT title shot to the back of the neck, and you can tell it's my first podcast. Joe was able to slap on the Coquina clutch on Hobbs, practically already out. Ramsberg saying, hey, I can't do nothing. Ring the bell. And then Joe, now a double champion. Absolutely shocking. Samoa Joe winning the TNT title shocked me too. Yeah, shocked me too, Christy. And then the T, and as I call it, TNA 2.0. They're Jarrett and Jay Lethal versus Sting and Darby Allin. The only one who wasn't in TNA during its heyday, or better yet at all, Darby Allin. There was one spot during the match that I really, really enjoyed. Well, two. One where Darby's music hit. There were a bunch of smoke jets. Darby came darting out of the smoke and taking out taking out Jay Lethal. Then obviously the oblivious heel thing. Oblivious heel that the face is right behind them, about to put a whooping on him. One of my favorite parts of that match, Darby was at the top of a 20-foot ladder, and if you take in account the ramp from the arena floor, the ramp to the arena floor, 25-foot drop. Darby went for a coffin drop off it. Satnam Singh caught him, had him on a razor's edge, but just twisted with it, and then flung Darby off, hitting him on the ramp. Sickening thud. But and then after some basically some back and forth stuff, Sting coming back, all this other stuff, of Jarrett hitting good Darby with the guitar. Darby with the guitars. All right, Darby Allin gets the pin. And 1, 2, 3, Sting and Darby win. The Acclaimed versus Swerve in Our Glory is now. Glory for the tag team titles, the third match of the trilogy. LG AE. I just want to shout out the Acclaim real quick. I think they were AEW. Yeah, many homegrown stars in AEW, but I think they were the first team to actually make their professional wrestling TV debut on Dark, and then work their way up through the rankings, and then finally become AEW World Tag Team Champions. That shows TK has faith in these guys. Of course, Max Caster wrapped longer than normal. You saw Swerve dive deeper and deeper and deeper into heelish madness. It was to the point where he was about to squish Max Caster's fingers with the pliers, same way he did to Billy Gunn. And then Billy Gunn came to stop him and to save Caster. And then Swerve handed the pliers to Keith Lee. He wanted them to use them. Keith Lee tossed him to the side. After an argument, and Swerve slapped him in the face, pissing off Keith Lee just enough where he brought Bowens to his feet, leading Swerve on, then gave Bowens a shoulder pat and basically told Swerve, you know what? Up yours, buddy. And then afterwards, the Acclaimed hit some move that I've never seen them hit before. Or obviously their new finisher, 1, 2, 3, Acclaim retain. I love the fact that they had the whole injury angle with both of them working over, both Keith and Swerve working over the shoulder of Anthony Bowens. Once Bowens came back like a true underdog babyface to help he and Caster win. And then the main event. And Christy, I know you're probably still upset, but what happened? For the All Elite Wrestling World Championship, Jon Moxley versus Maxwell Jacob Friedman, MJF. And I can honestly say this was a big step up from their last match back at All Out in 2020. Big step up. Back then, MJF was not more than a sniveling little rat coward. Sniveling little rat coward, but Howard, who tried to have Moxley's finisher banned, but it wasn't meant to be considering Mox hit it anyway. but tonight, but not tonight. Last night wasn't meant to be. Meant to be. As Mox hit the paradigm shift, but this time MJF kicked out. Then after some back and forth, MJF injuring his knee on the apron with a tombstone pile driver. For Mox working over that knee from that moment on, the majority of the match. And figure four leg lock. I don't care who you are. I've been in it multiple. I've been in it before. Not a fun move. I've been in it while playing with my cousins wrestling before. Cousins, brothers, siblings, relatives. Been in it. Not a fun move to be stuck in. But nonetheless, as MJF was able to turn it around on Moxley, and then Mox was then able to hit an apron pile driver right through the table on the outside, and then thereafter that match, Mox was able to lock in a sleeper, which MJF was able to escape. And then lock Ape, but only for Mox to lock it back in and then transition it into a bulldog a ref bump. There were 2 ref bumps in that match, and both referees were down. MJF tapped out to the bulldog, but ref never saw it. Earlier in the match, MJF donned the Dynamite Diamond ring and was debating with himself whether or not to use it. But William Regal was threatening MJF not to use it, saying, "If you use it, I'm going to get in there. Don't you freaking dare use it." Then he tossed the Dynamite Diamond ring back onto the floor and gave William Regal the bird. And that's what allowed Moxley to capitalize, hook on the Bulldog, aforementioned Bulldog choke, which MJF tapped out, of course, which I already mentioned. And then it looked like Regal was trying to coach Mox. But then when Mox went to gather himself, William Regal, once a villain, always a villain. William Regal, slipped MJF his old faithful, the ever dreaded brass knuckles. MJF able to don him. MJF, honest he kept his word to a fault. He didn't use the Dynamite Diamond, and he didn't have the firm backing him up. But he still cheated with help from somebody else. MJF was able to don the brass knuckles, and then as soon as he got the chance, pow, knock Mox's lights out. MJF slowly called to the cover, draped an arm across Mox. 1, 2, 3. MJF, your new AEW World Champion. And if you thought the crowd went nuts for Jamie Hayter winning, the moment Remsburg's hand hit the mat for 3, in that bell rang, holy moly, had I been in that Prudential Center, I would have been able to barely hear myself think. I personally, to give you an example of how loud it was, hearing how loud it was, I was at Extreme Rules. And then at the end, when Bray Wyatt came back, I told y'all TV didn't do it justice how loud it was when Bray Wyatt came back. I can honestly say this pop puts that pop to shame. MJF's title win pop puts Bray Wyatt's pop to shame. Very excited to see what the future holds for MJF as world champion. Now that Full Gear is in our rearview mirror, Mirror. I'm gonna be wrapping this up in about. I'm gonna be wrapping this up in just a bit, but I can honestly say, with Full Gear now in our rearview mirror, we can now, as fans, turn our attention and seeing as how William Regal helped MJF win it, I'm gonna do this in his honor. I'm gonna try to do it as good as he can. Makes me wonder who might beat MJF for the title at some point down the line. Me too, Christy. Early picks. A lot of people are saying it could be Eddie Kingston. We know it isn't going to be Starks at Winter. We know it ain't going to be Starks. We know MJF is beating Starks at Winter is coming. But with Full Gear now in our rearview mirror, less than a week away, we can now turn our attention to War Games. All right. First episode of Right Through the Table has officially come to a close. Hope to do this again. Hope to do this again soon. I'll probably be talking about Survivor Series. I'm Aaron King. Night, everybody.